Senator, as we're speaking to you, we're seeing pictures on the other side of the screen of Alan Gross returning to the United States. We also saw a picture of him seeing his wife in Cuba before he got on the plane to come back to the United States. There are two obviously very relieved people right there. I want to pick up on your point about U.S.-Cuba relations because there are people, Senator, who will argue with you. If the goal of all the measures that have been in place for so long, the United States measures against Cuba has been regime change, have been to change what's going on in Cuba. Fidel Castro, well, the Castros have been in power for more than 50 years now. So whatever efforts to change things, they didn't seem to work.
Well, first of all, I would say that you talk about the economic conditions in Cuba being so miserable. Cuba trades with every country in the world. The reason why they have an economic disaster is because their leaders are incompetent and their model of economics doesn't work. Look, we don't have economic sanctions on Venezuela, and their economy is almost as bad as the Cuban economy is now because they followed the same model. As far as it not working, it's the fundamental misunderstanding of why the embargo still matters. The embargo is leverage. These sanctions are leverage. You know, Raul Castro is 80-something years old. From a biological standpoint, his days are numbered now. And there's going to be a change in government in Cuba, and I think that change was going to be precipitated by the continuing collapse of their sponsors in Caracas. And the question now is, what kind of new government was going to take over? And for us, the embargo serves and the sanctions serve as leverage to go to that new government, or whoever their future leaders are, and say, we are prepared, as the law says in writing, to open up economic relationships and diplomatic relationships with Cuba, but you've got to move on democratic changes. And that's not been done here. We've just lost a significant part of our leverage to make that happen here in the foreseeable future. I mean, not a single democratic concession. And by the way, this idea that the fact that there'll now be more American products available in Cuba is going to bring about democracy is absolutely absurd. You can't point to a single example in human history, or in recent history especially, where more economic trade has led to a democratic opening. I mean, China is as repressive as any government in the world, and they've got full economic relations with the United States.